Lamar Jackson and the Ravens send a statement after beating the red-hot Commanders. We're going to get into it and talk about it in just a second, but before I do, welcome to Flock Talk, your home for all things Baltimore Ravens football. If you're a Ravens fan and you're new to this channel, take a second, like the video, subscribe. We're trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the season. We're making progress, but I need each and every one of you watching this video to hit that subscribe button to help me get there. I appreciate all of your support, but enough of that. Let's talk about this game. Wow. A game that was extremely hyped up due to Jaden Daniels playing as well as he has and being in the MVP conversation through his first 5 games. Was it premature? I think so. But regardless, he was there talking about possible game of the year matchup, which we all know that's going to go down as the Bengals and the Ravens game. Some people even went as far as to say this could be a Super Bowl matchup. I'm not going there, but listen, there were some folks that were really hyped about this matchup, and it was a good game. Early on, first drive of the game, Ravens get the ball. They start moving down the field. I don't know if Lamar Jackson, it was a bad throw or he was intentionally throwing it to the outside shoulder of, I believe it was Andrews. Maybe I'm mistaken on that, but it was kind of a fluky play. Like I said, maybe it was a bad throw or maybe it was just a missed drop pass. Either way, hit him in the hands, tipped, and intercepted, and not the great start you wanted. But the defense was able to hold them to just a field goal, which, look, we'll take. So the defense holds them to a field goal, and then it was sort of a slugfest in the first half, right? Back and forth. Offense not really getting a whole lot going, but in the second quarter, this offense found its stride, and then it never looked back the rest of the game. This offense is the textbook definition of balanced. This is one of the most dangerous offenses in the league. I think possibly the most difficult to defend, just because of all the playmakers around. And I'm going to make a bold claim here, and maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment, perhaps. I think this is the best version of Lamar Jackson that we have seen. I repeat myself. This is the best version of Lamar Jackson that we have seen in his career, which is saying something because he's been phenomenal his entire career. But when you look at the total picture, the command he has of this offense, making sure, reading the defense pre-snap, getting into the right play, getting his protections right. I don't know how you defend this offense right now. They have an answer for everything. And massive credit to the offensive coaching staff, because I was one of the biggest critics early in the year, in particular about the offensive line. I was concerned going into the season, and the first 2 games certainly didn't make me feel any better. But absolute massive hats off to that unit and the coaching staff, because they've looked like a dominant unit these last couple weeks. A few weeks, really. So, thrilled to see that. Derrick Henry did his thing. 24 carries, a $132 on the ground. What we're starting to expect from Derrick Henry, or what we expected even going into the season. So, right in that number that we talked about, right when you get in that 20 carries, we know he gets better as the game goes on. And Washington, again, similar to Cincinnati, sold out to stop Derrick Henry. Now, the Ravens had more success on the ground in this game than the Cincinnati game. But even before they really got that churning, the passing game was on fire in that second quarter into the third quarter. Lamar Jackson looks magnificent in the pocket. The way he sits back there, and again, mad credit to the offensive line because they're giving him time to go through his progressions, but he is delivering accurate, timely balls to his receivers. And his receivers are stepping up. Zay is looking like a bona fide number 1 guy. He was talked about widely as the number 1 guy going into the season, but it looks like the last couple of weeks he's taken that next step for Lamar Jackson and this offense, which is awesome to see. That's what we were hoping for when he was drafted. A record day, 9 catches, 9 catches, 9 targets, 132 yards, averaging almost 15 yards a target. Cooled off a little bit in the second half. I think Washington made it a point of emphasis to slow him down because he was absolutely destroying their defense in the first half. Rashad Bateman also got in on the action, logging in 4 catches of his own for 71 yards. Andrews, 3 catches, 66 yards, and a score. Isaiah Likely, a couple catches for 27 yards. Aguilar with a big 25-yard catch. Again, it's by committee. Zay looks like what we expected to be that number one guy, but I have to give a shout out to Rashad Bateman, a guy who has received plenty of criticism in his time in Baltimore. And some of it was justified, in my opinion. But his first healthy offseason, which I thought was going to be massive for him going into this season, didn't have the most fabulous start. We've seen, again, the last couple of weeks, similar to Zay, he looks like he's elevating his game as well. Looks like a reliable target. He's had good hands, running good routes, getting open for Lamar, which I'm happy to see. I was high on Rashad Bateman going into when he was drafted. So I'm glad that he is starting to hopefully take that next step and become more of a threat in this offense. And a big shout out to the special teams right before half, in particular Ben Cleveland, a guy who hasn't seen much playing time, especially this year, making a massive block right before half. That is a huge play because you don't know what that 3 points, what that's going to do later on in the game. And for him to go out there, and it sounds like he's been eager to get on that special teams unit and make such an impact play. Look, could we be looking at our next Calais Campbell here? Look, I don't want to jump the gun, but a big guy, get his hands up. That would be sweet to have a guy that we could, I don't want to use the word reliably block kicks because you can't really be reliable in that sense, but a guy that we can look to maybe get us those timely, get a timely hand up once in a while. I'm here for. So I'm assuming they're going to keep him on that unit going forward. So big time shout out to Ben Cleveland for his performance in this game. Now I want to quickly touch on the defense in this game. I have been one of their biggest critics this season. A unit that I've believed has the massive potential to be great. We saw what they were last year. They retained most of their pieces. Obviously, a big-time losing Mike McDonald, hiring Zach Orr, who has never run a defense and never called plays, and we've seen a bit of a growing process this season. I know they weren't dominant in this game, and I'm not going to try to paint you a picture that they were. I left this game feeling better than I have almost any game this season outside of maybe the Buffalo game, but it turns out Buffalo is really nothing to brag about. No offense. This defense held them to 52 rushing yards, and they were the second-ranked rushing offense behind the Baltimore Ravens. So that in itself is very impressive. Their front four is arguably the best in the league. Their run defense is just ridiculous. There's a reason they're the top-ranked. So hats off to them in that unit. The secondary has been the big question mark and the big letdown this season. They still gave up, 269 yards and 2 scores. But when you hold the offense to 50 rushing yards, I can almost live with that. Obviously, there's plays that you want back, and you don't want to give up some chunk plays. It seems like there's a lot of work going on. I thought the fourth down call when the Washington was in the red zone near the end of the game, and they sent the blitz to Jaden Daniels, and they left, Brandon Stevens one-on-one with Terry McLaurin. I thought that was really a questionable call. Obviously, I'm not a DC, but Terry McLaurin's the best receiver on their team and one of the best in the league. And we know Jaden Daniels has a heck of an arm, and he's a very accurate quarterback. I don't know why you leave your corner out to dry in that sense. I get you're bringing that pressure to not give him time, but who watching that game did not know that ball was going to Terry McLaurin? Like, it's things like that I look at and go, I don't understand why you would do that. Maybe somebody watching this can let me know in the comments. Like, what? I get the strategy of bringing the blitz. That's cool. I'm here for that. Because if you leave Jaden Daniels back there to throw for 10 seconds, he's going to find a target. So I'm here for bringing a little extra pressure. But I don't know about leaving Terry McLaurin one-on-one with Brandon Stevens. I don't understand that. I'm not a huge fan of that personally, but they won the game. Ultimately, that's what matters. A big thing going into this game, it is important to remember that the Commanders went into this game with maybe the hottest offense in the league, scoring north of 30 points their last 3 outings, one of them exceeding 40 points. So they came into this game red hot, and the Ravens, I thought, did a really nice job of slowing them down a little bit. Yes, they had their moments. They have great players. Jaden Daniels is a budding superstar. He had his moments. I don't know really what else you can say. Can the Ravens play better? Absolutely. And I hope they do, because they have a big-time test coming against Tampa where they're playing guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And even though Baker's not, Patrick Mahomes necessarily, he's still a capable quarterback, and he's capable of beating you, especially with those two elite wide receivers running down the field. So that's going to be a monster test for the secondary. And I'm not going to lie, it has me a little bit nervous. So, especially considering that they're coming off a 50-point outing and almost 600 total yards against the Saints. And I get the Saints aren't anything to write home about, but the Ravens defense and secondary has not also been anything to write home about at this point. But I left this game feeling more encouraged than any other game besides, like I said, maybe the Buffalo game, which turns out wasn't really that much to brag about because Buffalo's exactly what we thought they were going into this season, in my opinion. But overall, I'm really happy with the win. Washington, one of the hottest teams, maybe the hottest team going into this game. I'm really happy with the win, guys. I think we have a lot going for us going forward. I think this offense is only going to get better. Lamar Jackson should be in the conversation and, in my opinion, the front runner for the MVP. And I know it's really early in the season, but this is the best Lamar Jackson we've seen, bar none. I don't care what anyone says. Ryan Clark, you can sit on TV and say that Jaden Daniels is a better passer 5 games in. Lamar Jackson just went 20 for 26, 323 yards and a score. Second straight week, he's passed over 300 yards, and yet there's going to be somebody on TV or somewhere that goes, well, he's still not that, he's not consistent, or he can't throw. The dude is absolutely dropping dimes on the last couple of weeks, beyond the last couple of weeks, but in particular, the last 2 weeks, he's been red hot. And it has been so impressive to see his growth, even just from last year to this year. The command of the offense, like I said, has been spectacular. I'm so encouraged by what we're seeing, and if that defense can get it figured out, man, this team is going to be borderline unstoppable. So I'm still holding out hope in the defense. That's really the big question mark. Can they get it figured out in the back end? That's the question. Can they, but another thing is they have played elite offenses. They've played elite quarterbacks. So not to brush the problems under the rug, because there's definitely been some issues, but when you play guys like Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, even though he doesn't have any weapons, Jaden Daniels, who was leading the league in completion percentage going into this game, I don't know, maybe he still is. It's impressive that you start with that schedule and are 4-2. And I get it, without the offense and Lamar Jackson, they probably wouldn't be, because the defense has left a lot to be desired. But I'm leaving this game feeling encouraged by what they did, and I believe that they're capable of being an elite defense, similar to what they were last year. They probably won't get to that level, because that was like almost a historically great defense, but I believe that they're capable of being a really dominant unit. But I want to know what you guys think. If you're still watching this video, man, I appreciate you for sticking with me this long. It's a longer video than normal, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. What were your takeaways from this game? Were you encouraged, discouraged? What stuck out to you the most in this game? Don't forget, leave a big-time like on this video. It helps it in the algorithm. Subscribe if you're new. All we do is talk about your Baltimore Ravens. On the road to 2,000 subscribers, and I need each and every one of you watching this to help me get there. Thanks for tuning in and watching this long. I will see you all in the next video. Go Ravens!